Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Blended Thoughts. Today we thought we would talk about a subject that really pisses me off, honestly, a lot of times.
I think it pisses off a lot of people, but we all have to deal with it.
Yes, and it's healthcare.
Yeah.
And healthcare specifically in the US, how it works, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our own countries and how healthcare works there. I know we've touched on it before, but not like fully in depth.
Right.
So what would you say are the main differences that you've seen between healthcare in Mexico and here financially when it comes to money?
Okay. In Mexico, there are private and there are public healthcare or hospitals. Obviously, private is always better. But, well, not always, because I know Cuba has a really good healthcare and it's not.
The doctors
private.
are good. The
Exactly.
system, not so much. So is there insurance?
There is insurance.
Okay.
Yes. So the big difference that I've noticed, and even more now that my sister is pregnant, is that in Mexico, yes, you have you pay for your health, but you get quality healthcare.
Private.
Yeah.
Okay. Is the public paid or free?
It's free.
Okay.
So the same issues, like they have limited resources, there's a lot of patients, not enough room, medicines are a mess.
Yeah.
That's the public, but if you have private, you really do have really good healthcare, really good attention when you're in the hospital, and the baby doctors, how do you call it,
Pediatrics.
yes, them, like, when you're pregnant, you see the same doctor.
Wait.
So that doctor knows you from beginning to end.
But a pediatrician is not the same as a pregnant woman's doctor.
Well, that's your doctor.
An OBGYN sees you pregnant.
Yes.
A pediatrician doesn't see you pregnant.
No, but when the baby's born.
Yes.
Like my sister has to go to take Ian to doctor's appointments. It's kind of like different doctors every time.
Yep.
And over there is your doctor. Same doctor from since they're born till like 12, 13.
That happens here too. It just depends what group you choose.
And over here, it's like everybody goes to the same hospitals, to the same doctors. If you have insurance, if you don't, if you have the public, if you have a better one, it's the same hospital, it's the same doctors.
Yep.
So that's a big difference that I noticed between here and Mexico.
Well, the differences between here and Cuba are like two different planets, really, when it comes to healthcare. Healthcare in Cuba is completely free. You don't pay for anything. However, Cuban doctors, as you know, are well known across the world of being one of the best doctors in the world. Like, they are amazing. And I think what makes them so amazing is that they're able to treat and cure patients with no resources.
Yeah.
And when I say no resources, I literally mean no resources. Like, they don't even have gloves.
Yeah.
Like, the gloves in Cuba, reusable gloves, get washed out with water. They don't have bleach. Reused. And that's what you have to do. A lot of the instruments that you use are all metal, and I mean, it sounds disgusting and super unsanitary because it is, but they're cleaned with water and soap, and there's no bleach, there's no disinfectants. So although the doctors are amazing and they do amazing things, a lot of times people fear just going to a hospital because if you're going in for one thing, you'll come out with an infection because there's nothing.
What about medicines?
There's especially right now, it's a challenging time for the country. But even before, it's very hard for you to find any medicine. Although when you find it, it's free. We do have clínicas internacionales, which are like international clinics that are for tourists. So if tourists get sick, how Cuba works as a whole is connections. Okay. It's just how it is. Who you know, how much you can pay them a lot of times. So although the hospital doesn't have medicine, there's a few that steal the ones that come in. And if you know somebody that knows somebody that knows him, resuelves. Right. But you have to know people. The building that I grew up in, that was the pilot's building, had a lot of doctors too. So a lot of my mom's friends were doctors growing up, when I was growing up. And that's how we were able to get things when you did.
Yeah, but that's in general with everything, I would say,
It's true.
So.
In the country in general.
Yeah.
Like my uncle a few years ago had a huge hernia, like massive, and you need a mesh, an internal mesh to put in it.
Okay.
And they didn't have it, so he can have surgery. So I had to find it here and ship it to him.
Wow.
And although it's free, it's like there's nothing they can do. Like my sister's mom, she has a lot of health issues, and my sister's always having to find the medicines here and take them because there's no medicines.
Yeah.
And then another thing about Cuba and health, we're very like into holistic stuff, not necessarily because we want to, but because we have to. So a lot of things are like healed using plants.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. I mean, in Mexico, same thing, because the grandmas know, they have the best remedies for everything.
Yep.
But, and people really wait to take medicines until they're really like, okay, I need something else besides tea to make me feel better, Yeah. So.
I mean, things are so different. When I was little, I was sick a lot, unfortunately. And, oh my gosh, every 90% of the medication there is a shot. It's an injection in your butt.
Same in Mexico. It's shots and they hurt so bad. But then you're good next day.
You really are.
Yeah.
My mom has migraines a lot, and she would have a migraine. She wouldn't be like, oh, let me pop a Tylenol. We don't have Tylenol. She would go to the corner. Okay, another thing, while I'm on that subject. Every neighborhood has a neighborhood clinic with a neighborhood doctor. So you don't have to go to the hospital. So she would go to se llama el policlínico.
Okay.
Every neighborhood, my mom in our neighborhood would go to the policlínico. She'd be like, I have a migraine. They're like, great. They're not like, let me take your temperature. Like, here, you're literally, like, I get that they have to do your vitals, but you could be like, oh, I broke my toe. Let me take your temperature. And it's like, what? Like, that's another line item expense to bill your insurance. I'm like, I broke my toe. I don't need you to take my temperature. So over there, they would give her an injection in an hour. She was good to go. Here, you're like, oh, I have a migraine. Oh, we got to do an EKG on your heart. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So she would do that. And when I lived in the U.S., I was like 13. I went back to Cuba and I fell. My face hit like a rock, because I was walking on a gravel road and I had a little girl on my shoulders that I was carrying and she went like that and she pushed me forward as I was carrying her and I fell. My whole face scraped a rock, like from here was flesh.
Wow.
And I was with my sister. My sister freaked out. She's like, oh my god, my dad's gonna kill me. I mean, disgusting. She took me to the policlínico. The doctor was like, make this concoction with these plants and get like cloths and put it there. Oh my, I don't have a scar at all. Nothing.
No.
Nothing. And it was like a black scab that you could peel off. Like, it's a funny story is she worked in a place, like a pit stop for tourists.
Okay. When
they were like, tourist buses would stop here for lunch and she would sell like postcards and I was sitting there with her because I was on vacation and I had like a big bandage patch and they would give me all this money because they thought... Yes, the bathroom attendant was like, hey, Jacinda, can you watch the bathroom real quick? Because you would have to pay, like, I don't know, 50 cents to use the bathroom. And I just sat there while she had to go do something. Oh, my God, the amount of money that I had at the end. She was like, what the heck? Because they all thought I was, like, a hurt little kid. It's like, I live in the U.S.
That's hilarious.
They didn't know. But, yeah, she was like, can you stay here all day? I was like, sure. But, I mean, the healthcare system here...
But wait, what is it that you used on your face?
I have no idea. We call them cocimientos. Like, a cocimiento is like a concoction of plants. I should ask my sister what it was. They told her, like, go find this plant, boil it, and the liquid that comes out of it, dip, like, a washcloth. We don't have washcloths. But, like, a dirty towel, or not dirty, a rag or something. And she would put it there for, like, a few hours each day. And somehow that healed me.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and we use a lot of those tactics in Asian culture.
They still do,
They're very into medicinal with plants, which I think is great. But, yeah, I mean, the health... And every time I would go to Cuba, I would get sick on vacation. And I would have to go to the policlínico because I would always get a fever. And they would, like, inject me. And it's funny because I wasn't supposed to go to the policlínico because I didn't live there. I lived in the U.S. So they would be like, Jacinda, this is your address because they'll ask you. Because if not, I would have to go to like the
To the other
international
one.
clinic, and that costs money, and they would be closed in the middle of the night. And the doctor would be like, "What's your address?" I'm like, and he'd be like, "You guys aren't from here, or don't live here anymore." I'd be like, "No." My mom would give him like $5. He'd be like, "Okay, here you go." But in Cuba, so doctors make like no money in Cuba,
Right.
Compared to here, like none.
And it's sad because they're good.
They're amazing. They make like no money. However, the perks of being a doctor, why a lot of them go into it, because they really want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But se te pega cosa, like meaning, okay, I have this patient, wants me to treat them from the farm. They'll bring you like a sack of rice.
Oh.
One will give you a chicken. One will give you this. One will give you money. So like, although your salary's not good, you get a lot of bribery. Really, that's what it is, for you to help them. I'm sure there's bribery in Mexico.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much in the healthcare, but like police and stuff like
I'm
that.
sure in the healthcare
you get pulled over and you're like, here, 200 pesos. Bye. That's it.
So, okay. So that brings us to healthcare in the U.S.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's disgusting. Let me rephrase it. I think the care is great.
But the system,
yeah, on the financial side, is royally screwed up.
Every time I think about it, I get pissed off.
Me too.
It makes me mad.
It's a business.
To think about how much of a business healthcare is, and like the people's health.
Yep.
Because
sick people make money. It's not in the benefit of healthcare systems, insurance companies, hospitals, doctors, to have healthy people. That doesn't make them money. And I'm not saying healthcare shouldn't be a business and doctors should go into it for free. Not at all. You went to school, you worked your butt off, you should make money.
Right.
But the markups, like that, what was it? It was like a shot for diabetes or insulin. I think it was, don't quote me, like the patent for insulin was sold for like $50, like something crazy.
Yeah, it was really high and people couldn't afford it.
And they marked it to like $700. Yeah. So it's like, they literally let people die. How isn't there regulations?
I know.
Or
because,
enough.
Like medicine, that's a huge part of
the markups.
You know, the economy. Like they make so much money out of it that
pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's for everything, and all those ads that you see on TV. Yeah. They usually, I don't see them in like Spanish channels, but in English, they're like every break.
What I was telling you, in other countries, most countries, I don't know any aside from the U.S., it's illegal to run commercials about prescriptions. Like in Europe, you're not allowed to run a prescription commercial, because why is the patient learning about a medication? That's the doctor's job.
And then the patient is gonna be, hey doctor, I need this medication.
Like, what is that? I think they should be banned completely.
Yes.
But I have a few friends that are in pharmaceutical sales, and they bang.
Yes. And
they've told me before, Justine, you should go into pharmaceutical sales. You'll make so much money. I mean, I've considered it slightly, but I feel like I would be working for the devil. Don't quote me if I need money in the future and you see me going in pharma sales. But I'm saying, like, it's hard for me, because I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing a good.
Yeah.
I'm a street pharmacist. You're pushing pills. That's literally what you're doing.
Exactly. That's how they make money. And that's how doctors get also like a good chunk of their payment, because they're giving patients all of these medications sometimes without even knowing what's wrong. And they already giving you a pill.
Yeah, they get, I mean, I know now the regulations in pharma are a lot more strict than they used to be, because before, these pharmaceutical reps would be taking out the doctors to strip clubs. No, I'm not joking. I have friends that have taken doctors out to dinner at strip clubs, have taken them on trips, bring them lunch, and it's their whole purpose is they have a quota each month of how many prescriptions of each medication should be written.
Wow.
If your network of doctors as a pharmaceutical rep exceeds that, then you get a bonus.
Wow.
So they are like massaging and kissing ass to these doctors and to these doctors' offices so they can push these pills.
Yeah.
I had a doctor in South Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a doctor. I went to her, and I don't know what was going on. I think I just went for a checkup, and she was like, "Do you have anxiety?" I'm like, "No." And she's like, "I think you have anxiety. I think I'm gonna write you a prescription for anxiety." I'm like, "I don't have anxiety, and I don't need a medication for it." And she pushed it so much. I'm like, how much money are you getting? Like, what?
Did you tell
Why
her?
are you pushing? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm never coming back here again. I'm literally telling you, I'm not anxious. I don't have it, and I don't need a prescription. And you're pushing that. You're a horrific doctor. I should call out the name because it's a big medical group, but I won't.
Wow.
And from then, I was like, I'm not going to a doctor who's a pill pusher.
Yeah, no,
And that's what they are. They're pill pushers. And I make sure to be like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Pill.
And I mean, you said I don't need it, but a lot
Yeah.
of people, they're like, do
Okay,
I? Yeah,
I need
okay,
it.
I'll take it, you know?
No.
Because it's a doctor. You're supposed to trust your doctor and what.
It's sad.
But
it's true.
And I also saw a video of a nurse. She was talking about, like, if you want to get into, like, become a nurse.
Yeah.
She's like, you know, I want you to know that this is a business.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want to help patients, but if they don't have the insurance, if they don't have the money, you cannot give them treatment.
It's so sad.
It's a huge business. It's like,
yeah.
So you don't have money, like, sorry.
The markups. And when you have a good insurance, let me tell you a story.
What is a good insurance, though? Because
One that,
you always end up paying so
no, a
much
good insurance
money
for the
out of pocket.
doctor. When a doctor says you have a good insurance that they can bill a lot too.
Ah.
So I was hospitalized on New Year's Day.
Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve, going to New Year's Day for a ruptured ovarian cyst. Like, I looked as pregnant as I am now, and I wasn't. So I was having a lot of pain. We went to St. Joe's. It was like 2, 3 in the morning. And I sat there for 4 hours waiting, and they called one person back. And I was like, I can't keep waiting in pain. They called me back. They took my vitals, and they took blood work. And then I sat back down, and I waited 3 more hours. And I was like, I can't. I told Jose, like, I can't keep waiting without being seen. Because there was a lot of accidents. It was New Year's Day, right. So a lot of emergencies that were coming in. St. Joseph's billed my insurance for a hospital bed that I never sat in. Wow. So I had called my insurance to talk about some bills, and she was like, yeah, I see a St. Joe's bills for $3,000. I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, and you owe copay. I'm like, for what? And they're like, oh, the hospital bed. I was like, ma'am, I was never called back. All they took was my vitals. I get for blood work. They did do blood work and vitals. Okay, we'll pay that. I was like, a doctor never saw me. Like, I was in the waiting room waiting to be called, and they billed my insurance.
Wow.
So now I have to fight that and fill out all these forms.
I know, and you have to do it even though you didn't fuck up.
I know, and the insurance company is like, oh no, like, if they're billing us and that's not right.
Yeah.
So then I left St. Joe's at like 4 in the morning, and I went to Carewood.
Okay.
They saw me right away, which was great. And then they're not sure what's going on. They're taking vitals. They took blood work. They did an MRI, a CT scan, like all bunches of stuff because my stomach is massive.
Right.
There's fluid. I have a slight fever, and like my white blood count is escalated. Mm-hmm. Meaning there's like some sort of infection or something. Right. So they're like, I'm there for hours, and they're doing all these tests, and all these doctors come in, and then the surgeon comes in. I will never forget this, and it pisses me off. The surgeon comes in, Jose's with me, and he was like, okay, we can't find your appendix. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I have a ruptured ovarian cyst. Like, I've had cysts before, and it was like pain here. And he's like, well, we can't find your appendix in the scan because you have so much fluid buildup. And we're scared that you could have a ruptured appendix, and that because your white blood count is high, and you have a slight fever. He's like, so what we can do is we're going to go into surgery, and then we'll cut you open, and then if your appendix is ruptured, we'll remove it. And then, here's the kicker of what he said. And if your appendix is fine, we'll still take it out since we're already in there. I was like, excuse me? And Jose looks at me, and I'm like, you're going to take my appendix out even if it's fine? He's like, well, you don't need it. And if we're already in the surgery room cutting you open, we're just going to take it out. And I'm like, no, the fuck you're not. I was like, what are my other options? He didn't even know for sure that I had a ruptured appendix. And this is the head surgeon. And I was like, no, you're not cutting me open and taking my appendix out, even if it's fine, because that could be it. And he was like, oh, the other one is we could transfer you to Tampa General because they have a gynecology team. Or we're going to keep you overnight and monitor you and see how your fever is doing and your white blood count is doing. If it increases, that means that your appendix is ruptured and you're septic. So we have to go into surgery and remove your appendix. I'm like, okay, I'm spending the night. You're not cutting me.
Wow.
They were literally going to wheel me into the ER, or not the ER, into the surgery room, operating room, and cut me open and just take out my appendix just in case.
Wow. Since they were already there.
I was literally dumbfounded. And he was like the surgeon, which when you hear surgeon, you're like, oh, they're trustworthy. Right. And then I was like, no, you can keep me overnight and monitor me. And then if you see that my symptoms are getting worse, then okay.
Right.
So after he left, and I was like, no, this other doctor came in, a lady, and she was like, honey, I don't think it's your appendix. I think you have a ruptured ovarian cyst. I'm like, that's what I told him. That's what I've been telling everybody. She's like, I've had a ruptured ovarian cyst, and your symptoms all align with it. She was like, don't let them operate. And I was like,
wow.
And like, I was like, okay, I'm losing like my faith.
And you're like sick. So what the heck?
Imagine if I can't speak. Imagine that people that don't can't speak for themselves or are not thinking. And I'm just like, you know how much that surgery would have been?
Yeah.
Insurance.
That's ridiculous. I've never been hospitalized here. I know I've been once, but it was in Mexico because I was dehydrated. But that's it. So I haven't really dealt with that.
If I can give any advice is if you are able to be alert, I mean, and things happen, I get it, but not that.
Yeah.
That was like very obvious when he said, even if your appendix is fine, we'll still remove it because you don't need it. I was like,
wow.
I literally thought he was
That's not gonna be for free though.
I thought he was talking to me in another language because I was like, you can't be serious. Jeez. This is a joke. And then they took me upstairs. They kept me. And they said, the doctor was like, you can't eat in case you have to go into emergency surgery because if it is your appendix. And then the nurse brings me a meal. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, here's your lunch. I know you haven't had lunch. I'm like, the doctor said I'm not allowed to eat. She's like, yeah, you can. I'm like, no, I can't. I could go into surgery. And then she calls the doctor and she's like, oh, yeah, you can't eat. I'm like, oh, my God. You guys are stupid. Jesus. But that's the financial part. So,
yeah,
that happens. They send me home the next day. It's a ruptured ovarian cyst, like I said. So I have follow-up with my gynecologist. Then the bills start rolling in. And I have insurance.
Yeah. But that's something that maybe you can clarify with, like, this whole situation. Because I don't get, like, you pay monthly, and then you do your copays, and then you still have to pay because you don't meet your, is it the copay? Deductible.
Okay, so, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand, because there's deductible and there's coinsurance. There's two things. So, and copay. So my copay, I think, was $150 for an ER visit. But if I'm hospitalized, so if they admit you, then the $150, I believe, covers the visit, but not the whole stay. And here's the kicker, where they don't, and then I called my insurance, and the lady that I spoke to at my insurance, good job, Signal lady, because she was so nice. She explained everything, and you know I'm the type, I'm like, I don't understand, explain it again. And I started getting, like, bills, aside from the hospital bill, 1,000 different doctors. I'm like, what the hell is this? What? This doctor, this doctor, this doctor. And the lady at the insurance was like, every doctor that steps foot into your room will bill you separately. Because they're part of their own medical group.
What the heck?
Yes. Aside from the hospital one. So then I got all these specialists that were coming to see me to figure out what was wrong with me. They each of their medical groups that they belong to individually billed me on top of my insurance, which the $150 copay for the ER doesn't cover because they have their own medical groups.
Wow.
So then I got all these bills, and she was like, if I can give you any advice, is if you're ever hospitalized, before they're about to walk into your room and say anything to you, ask, who are you? What kind of specialist are you? And if
Mhm.
you really don't think it's necessary, do not let them walk in your room. Say no, thank you.
Okay.
Because as soon as they walk into your room and they talk to you, they can bill you.
That's ridiculous though, because you're sick and you're trying
You
to
don't
like
know.
feel better. Like you don't want to be like, who are you? You know, like what are you gonna do to me?
Yeah.
Ah,
It's really
it's
sad.
crazy.
It's sad. And then, so the copay is how much you have to pay per visit depending on your insurance. So 10, 15, 25, 35, whatever. And then your deductible is how much out of pocket
Okay.
you're responsible for paying for the whole year. For example, my deductible now is $2,000,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, $2,000. Meaning, okay, I go. Okay, for example, the hospital bill, I paid the $150. The $150 goes towards that $2,000 total. It
Okay.
starts subtracting. Then I was still responsible for paying like $1,200 to the hospital.
Mhm.
So then that gets subtracted. So meaning you'll only pay $2,000 out of pocket is the total you'll pay for the whole year.
Okay.
But then there's coinsurance, which coinsurance is another thing. It's like so coinsurance is mine, I believe, is 20%. So I have to pay 20% of hospital bills up to my deductible. I think I might have confused you.
That's so confusing though. Like
It is confusing.
I'm paying, and then all I know is like I'm already paying you every
and you have a
freaking
premium,
month.
a lot of money.
And then when I go to a doctor, I pay my deductible. And then when I get sick, I need to pay thousands of dollars. So why the heck am I
you don't
paying
pay your
every
deductible,
freaking...
you pay your copay.
Yeah,
Which is
the
different.
copay. Sorry, I said
So
deductible.
I think so I think
The
coinsurance. I think so. Coinsurance is I have the copay, and then I have the 20% coinsurance. I have to pay 20% of the bill up to $2,000. So the $2,000 is the max that I'll pay.
Right.
But I mean, so I get the hospital bill for like $1,400, and I'm like,
damn.
why do I have insurance? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
They sent me the bill, and if I'm gonna pay you, I'm gonna be a real asshole because I think they take advantage.
Yeah.
So they sent me the bill for my whole hospital stay, and they generalize it. Emergency room, $10,000. Tests, $5,000. No. If you're gonna charge me, I need to know exactly what you're charging me for. And I called the hospital and I said, I received my bill. I need an itemized bill. Oh, we sent it to you. I said, no, you didn't. This bill says emergency room, $10,000. She's like, yeah. I'm like, no. I want to know in those $10,000, what am I paying for? How much was the Advil you gave me? How much was the pregnancy test? And she's like, we can't do that. I'm like, then I'm not paying it. You can't expect. I'm like, that's me going to a restaurant and at the restaurant getting a bill for $200 and they're like, food.
Yeah.
No. What plates cost how much?
Yeah.
And she didn't want to. And they don't want to. That's the thing.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not paying it.
No, because they know they have insurance, so they have the insurance pay the person that they want, but you also end up paying a lot.
Like, I'm not paying for something if you're not telling me what I'm paying for. And she was like,
wow.
oh, we don't have that. I'm like, I'm not paying it then. You can't charge me. You can't force me to pay it if you're not telling me what I'm paying for. And she's like, oh, okay, well, we'll send you a form with a code. So then she did. They just don't want to. And oh my God, $300 for a pregnancy test. I could have gone to CVS for $10.
I know, like, why so much?
Because the markup.
Oh my God, it's just disgusting. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
And like a Tylenol, I'll bring my own Tylenol. I'll take my own Tylenol. I'm not gonna have you charge me $50.
We should have like a bag full of medicines. Like,
what do you mean?
Wait, I have it.
No, seriously. And it said medication. And I was like, no. I want to know what medication you gave me, what the dosage was, how much you charged me for a pill, and they were pissed. And you can't tell me I have to pay for it. And when I saw it, I was like, this is disgusting. That's on top of every other doctor that saw me charging me on top of it. Could you imagine if I let them take out my appendix?
Another, 15?
No, like
more.
50. Because it's an operating room.
Yeah.
And now with the baby,
I
learn a lot. Because it's a boy, so circumcision is $300. Circumcision is not covered by insurance.
Damn.
It's an out-of-pocket cost. And then with my insurance, it's like so many things are so fucked up, but you learn. Like, we had a test that needed to be done for the baby, and I read everything. I was reading the portal notes of my doctor because we have a patient portal.
Right.
And she wrote something affecting mother's care, and I'm like freaking out. I'm like, it's affecting me? What? You didn't tell me this. And I called back like 10 times, and the doctor was literally like, stop reading my notes. And I was like, no. And she was like, I had to put that because for insurance purposes, you are the patient, not the baby. The baby doesn't have insurance because he's inside of me. So if the insurance was for the insurance to cover this test, she had to write that it's affecting me.
Oh, wow.
So it's all coding. So they have to make sure they put in the right codes. I'm like, this is some shady shit.
Wow.
But it's like out of this world.
I know. Do you think healthcare should be free?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Okay. Yes, I think it should be, if not free, I think there should be, it should
regulated?
Be heavily regulated.
Yeah.
Like, the cost of hospitals should have a cap.
Yeah.
Because hospitals are private institutions here, which in Cuba, there's no private institutions. Like, all hospitals are government, which I think hospitals shouldn't be privately owned.
Yeah. Or medicines, because those are private too.
I know, it's all private.
Yeah.
And I don't think it'll ever be free here because of we have so many pharmaceutical lobbyists that spend millions of dollars into politics to push their agenda.
Yeah.
So that's not gonna happen. Sick people make money. Like how much money you can get from insurance. Side note, okay, Saw. Have you ever seen the Saw movies?
No.
With the little guy in the tricycle?
No.
Okay.
I don't like scary movies.
I don't either. It's scary, but kind of gory. If you really paid attention to Saw, so it's this guy, he's really sick in the head, twisted. He puts people in situations where they can survive the torture that he put them, but it's gonna come at a high cost. Like, they're gonna either cut their hands off or something. Like, there was like a bunch of needles, and then they were like locked up, and there was a key, so you had to stick your hand through the needles to get the key. I digress. But if you use, it's such a gory series of movies, but the reason why he did it was very interesting that I don't think a lot of people really focus on. So this guy has cancer.
Okay.
And he goes to his insurance. And his insurance is like, we're dropping you. Something along those lines. Or, we can't cover that treatment for cancer. It's too expensive. He's like, I've been working here for like 30 years, paying everything. And now you don't want to cover me? And they drop him. So he brings in the insurance people and tortures them. To show them, like, you're putting people in really bad situations. So it was really messed up what he did. But I understand. It's like, why he did what he did. It was like, you need to be taught a lesson. You can't play with people's health.
And it's the same with the Joker movie.
Yeah.
That's another movie. Mental
really
health.
Sad.
You know, if you cannot afford it, they dropped him and he didn't have his medication.
Exactly.
And then what? You know?
That's how it is. It is for a lot. I'm a big, you know this, I love therapy. I think therapy is so important. I think there's such a taboo on therapy, unfortunately, especially in Latin countries. Oh, tú estás loca. If you go to a therapist, you're loca.
Like, people don't want to go because they're going to be medicated, or, they're going to call me crazy, or...
Only a psychiatrist can give you medication. A psychologist is not legally allowed to give you medication, neither is a regular therapist. But for me, I'm like, if you have heart problems, you go to a cardiologist. If you have problems with your brain, you go to a neurologist. I mean, the mind is such a big part of who we are. It dominates everything. So why wouldn't you get help? But that's like a whole nother thing. And for me, it's just like countries like Canada has free health care. They're taxed at a very high rate, like 40%.
Well, I'd rather pay taxes
I agree.
To get free education, health care, and screw car insurance.
But you're seen as, but I agree with you, but your views to a lot of people here are seen as communist.
I mean...
Or socialism.
But they're paying taxes anyways.
Exactly.
To pay for programs that don't even work.
Exactly.
For people that are not even working or making an effort.
I
Instead
agree.
of paying your taxes
I
to give free good education and healthcare at least,
I think our systems overall are created to suppress us to a certain extent. But I think too much of anything is bad, including too much freedom.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously I come from a country that has free education, free healthcare. It doesn't really matter because what you get is not good.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think somebody should choose between feeding my child or going to the doctor.
Yeah.
And you have to a lot of times here. My sister seriously got hurt like a few years ago, and she treated herself at home because she didn't have insurance.
Yeah.
And then if you go to the hospital, they can't turn you away if it's a life-threatening emergency. If it's life or death, they have to treat you. But if it's like something ongoing, they will turn you away. And then you run your credit, and then you can't buy a house and you can't buy a car because you were sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of asinine.
It's just, it's a need. It's basics. You need a shelter, you need food, you need healthcare, and education, so everybody has the same opportunities.
Yeah, but this isn't a country for same opportunity.
It sucks. We focus so much on other things that we really should be focusing on better human beings,
But being a decent human being isn't profitable.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we're all about profit and how much money can I have, and it just goes to show you money isn't everything. Look at oh my god, I'm blanking out. What's the Apple guy's name?
I don't know. Him.
Dang it, this is gonna really drive me nuts because I see him. He had cancer and he died, and he was a billionaire. Steve Jobs.
Yes.
So Steve Jobs had so much money and he died because of cancer. And it's like things that aren't avoidable. But, I mean, just in general, I think our system is really messed up. I think a lot of other countries don't have good health care either. But compared, like, we're embarrassing. Like, as Americans, a lot of times. Like,
if you
how
talk
our
to
systems,
people from other countries, they'll
Europe,
tell you. Yeah.
Especially Europe. Like, the whole maternity aspect when it comes to healthcare and finances. I was reading a thread in this group that I'm a part of for moms, and all these European moms and moms in other countries are like, wait, you have to pay to give birth? They're like, what? This doesn't make sense to me. There was this mom of triplets. She had to pay $1 million per baby. And she's in debt forever because they were triplets. They were in the NICU for like a long time because they came out teeny tiny.
Damn.
And she's like, I'll never be able to pay this. And there's mom that finally paid off her maternity medical bill when her daughter was 6. She's like, yeah, she's finally mine, I get to keep her. But it's like these burdens are like insane.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of money that you have to pay to have a child here is it's like mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like,
because it doesn't end there. Then you have a kid and then you have to give him his shots and
and just the cost of health insurance. Like, I'm on Jose's policy and he checked how much it is to add the baby. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of money that to become a family is like, from him, I think he paid like $100 and something per paycheck, and it's going to like $400 and some per paycheck. That's $800 a month. I had a friend at Ronstad. She paid over $1,000 a month for health insurance to then still have copays, to then still have to pay the hospital bills.
And I mean, I gotta say, there is free health insurance for kids and for adults, but it's really hard to qualify. Like, you really need to be
dirt
poor to qualify. So it's like,
Yep.
Either I become poor or I afford my insurance, you know?
Florimar and Tatiana and I were talking about this. It's not set up for families in the middle realm.
No.
So it's like you have to be either really, really rich are really, really poor.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's set up, the system's not set up to help families move along, move forward. Because if you're like, okay, I'm working, I can't pay all of it, I can pay a little bit, can you help me? Nope, you make too much money.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay,
even
so
though you still cannot afford it because it's crazy expensive.
So do you want me to be a bum? So if I'm a
Exacto.
bum at home, then you'll cover me.
Exactly.
Like, that makes no sense. I called, because there's something called Florida Kid Care,
Uh-huh.
which is insurance for kids. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like cheaper than Jose's. I called and she's like, you don't qualify. I'm like, I'm not working, but my husband is. Yeah, you don't qualify. You make too much money. And I was like, okay, so how much money would I qualify? For a family of 3, you can't make more than $32,000 a year. Who can survive off of that for 3?
Wow.
And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm not saying I want it free. I'm not asking for free health insurance. I'm saying like a premium that's not like $500 a month. And she was like, yeah, no. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm pregnant now. And she's like, oh, we don't cover babies. It's only 1 to 18. I'm like, then what do I do for the baby? Oh, that's Medicaid. I'm like, but I don't qualify for Medicaid. And I'm not asking for Medicaid. I'm asking just for like, and she's like, yeah, no. I'm like,
wow.
So it's really like, it's not made to help you.
No,
it's
not
made
at all.
to hold you back.
Yeah.
But if I was a single mom with 10 kids, I would get Medicaid. All my kids would get Medicaid. We would get food stamps.
Exactly. Paid for your rent, free healthcare, free food. It's just wrong. Like I know people need it.
Yes.
People need the help, but
Yes.
it's help. It's not for you to live
not a
on
career.
For the rest of your life, and that's what it's just sad.
It's set up like that. And I think government assistance is there, and I think it's great. When I first moved to this country, we benefited from that, but we got off of it in like 2 months. And I do think government assistance should be there to help people get back on their feet. But a lot of people make it a career, and they're like, they have their boyfriend, husband living at home, not married, having all these kids. First of all, let me say something that's going to be super controversial. You ready? Very. If you can't afford to pay for the 2 kids that you have at home, if you have a third, the government should not pay you. And when I say the government, it's not the government, it's us, taxpayers. I think, very controversial what I'm about to say, if you are on government assistance, hardcore, where they're paying for everything, you should be drug tested. If I have to get drug tested to keep a job, you better be drug tested to keep government money.
Yeah.
And B, if you have children that the government is giving you money for food, paying their health insurance, you should have to go on mandatory birth control.
Yeah.
Mandatory. Oh, that's a violation of my rights. Then support yourself, and you don't have to worry about it.
Exactly.
If you don't like it, the government forcing you to do something, then you should be able to cover your own expenses. If you can't afford to feed, clothe, and insure 2 kids, why are you having more?
Because they're getting more money per kid. That's why. And that's why I was saying these programs are not helping, are not working. And instead of doing that, then you could be giving a kid free education for them to like better themselves. So it's just frustrating.
It's not. I just don't get it. I honestly, the whole drug test thing is like, people have to get drug tested to get a job.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have, then don't be on government assistance. Oh, well, and the whole birth control thing, I'm like dead serious.
Yeah.
Like, put a Norplant, whatever thing for 5 years. You can take it out whenever you want. But if you get pregnant again, not covering you. Yeah. We told you, you can't pay for 2, then we're not going to pay for your 3rd.
Yeah.
I could go off on a tangent because it really pisses me off.
Yeah.
But it's like families that are struggling to, like, get by and are like, no, I don't want to be on government assistance. I want to do this on my own. There's no help for middle families.
No.
In any way. When it comes to government, when it comes to just programs in general.
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Tatiana was talking about a scholarship that they have for middle income families for a school that her daughter's going to, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And they wanted her to be a spokesperson. And we're like, go for it. Like, you need to represent the middle income families. Like, we should have the most help because we're not trying to live off the government.
Exactly.
We're trying to do it on our own. We make too much money to qualify for anything,
but not enough
to pay for it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
It's crazy. The middle class is like, we're in the middle, so it's like the sandwich. Both sides are like,
yeah,
always.
Our system is for the poor or for the filthy rich.
Exactly.
But we went off a tangent from healthcare, but we hope you enjoyed it. Let us know if you share our opinions or disagree with our opinions. Why? Respectfully, please. And let us know if there's anything else you want to talk about.
All right. Thank you for listening.
Bye!